Welcome. My name is Nolan Hong. I'm going to be your host for tonight's festivities. This is Artists for Appleseed, and this is for a benefit for Hawaii Appleseed. We are doing an artist spotlight tonight. We have been just really thrilled with how this whole week has turned out. For many of you who have had a chance to peruse our virtual art gallery, tons of amazing artists have put up a lot of their amazing work for you to go and see. And also, we've got a lot of people buying a lot of art as well. And all of these proceeds go to Hawaii Appleseed. And we're just so grateful for you all to join us here tonight. We have about 6 amazing artists that we're going to be spending some time with. So you can get to know some of the artists, learn a little bit more about what their pieces are about. And maybe you'll find some kind of connection there where you'll want to support some of our amazing artists and also in turn support Hawaii Appleseed. And before we continue, I want to bring on our wonderful representative from Hawaii Appleseed. Please help me welcome Miss Connie Choi. Connie, hey, what's going on?
Hi Nolan.
So Connie and I, we're actually technically in the same place, but we're being socially responsible. And Connie's over there. But,
Yeah.
But Connie, this has been so cool. I mean, the fact that we've turned your fundraiser event into a virtual event where people can have the same experience of going to an art gallery, but from the comfort of their own home. How did you come up with this idea, and how has it been so far? Because you guys have been doing this for what, the past 4 days now, 3 days?
Yeah, so our event is a week long. It's been a process to, like many nonprofits and fundraisers, to really rethink how we were going to do Artists for Appleseed because, ideally we would be meeting in person with our wonderful sponsors and our supporters, where they can see the art in person, but obviously we can't do that this year. So we thought, what better way than to take advantage of technology and put ourselves through a really big learning curve and try to put together a virtual art exhibit.
Well, in a second, we'll actually take people through a little tour of the virtual art exhibit, which is super awesome. When you're telling me about it, I couldn't conceptualize it until you took me through it. And I was like, this is amazing. It's so cool. And we'll get to it in a second. But for those who are not as familiar with Hawaii Appleseed, could you share with us a little bit about the mission of Hawaii Appleseed and what you do?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Nolan. So for those of you who are not familiar with Hawaii Appleseed, we are a nonprofit based in Honolulu. We've been working for over 15 years to change and transform systems that perpetuate inequality in order to build a Hawaii where everyone can thrive, especially working class people and working class families. We do this by working in the courts through budget and tax policy and fostering community-led engagement and advocacy. And so much of our work is really made possible because of the individual supporters, like those on the call today, who support what we do and what we believe in. So I want to say thank you so much to everyone who's on the call.
And this fundraiser event is a real important piece to continuing this work. Could you give just one example? I know there's tons of examples, but is there one example of something that people could relate to as far as like what maybe a certain type of work that's being done with your program that might benefit a certain group of people in the community?
Yeah, as of recently, like many other nonprofits, we've really been focused on pandemic response, and a lot of that looks very different through community engagement. Our Hawaii Appleseed wears a lot of hats. We have a lot of different programs. One in particular involves feeding sites and making sure that feeding sites across the state are able to remain open and are able to provide free meals to families, especially for children who are out of school or doing distance learning and are usually on free or reduced price school lunches. So that's an example.
Yeah, and so for today's Artists for Appleseed event, how does this art exhibit work as far as how it benefits Hawaii Appleseed?
The art exhibit?
Yeah.
How it works? So it's basically a virtual art exhibit as if you were to see the art in person, except it's on your computer on a screen, whether that's on your phone or a laptop. You really get to explore the different gallery rooms. We have 5 gallery rooms, all with different layouts to make it a little bit more fun, and to really simulate as best we can a real life experience. And the proceeds, so all the artists, all the artwork is for sale, and a portion of each sale will be donated to our nonprofit, and also the other portion will be given to the artists who so graciously, are able to participate this year, with knowing, the different landscape we're working with, and being very patient with us as we navigate a virtual space.
Yeah, and this thing looks so amazing. In fact, I know you're going to take us on a little virtual tour of the art exhibit. So let's go ahead and pull that up here. And Connie, why don't you guide us through this?
Okay, yes. So this recording might be going kind of quick. So you go on our website, artistforappleseed.com, and here's all the information that centralizes all the information about our event. You can learn about our artists, our event lineup, and where you want to go is our art exhibit tab. And here is where we are hosting our exhibits to keep you on, it's very easy. It keeps you on the same website. You don't have to go anywhere. The exhibits are embedded into our site. We have 2 galleries, nearly 40 artists featuring over 150 pieces of art. 2 galleries, the galleries are named after types of apples. There's also a map that you can download to get a feel for the space and what to expect. So the first gallery, you can enter the exhibition at your own pace or start a guided tour where that will take you through each of the pieces.
That looks so cool.
Yeah, and this is really the space, how it looks like. Each room looks a little bit different, but this is kind of the gist of it. We have all these beautiful pieces by local artists. We have almost 40 participating artists this year, which they've all been amazing to work with, and to just see all their pieces. We also have that map right there. It's very big, so you can't miss it. And to view a piece, you just have to click it, and you can see more information by clicking the info icon, including the price. To purchase, you click the purchase hyperlink, and it'll take you to our Shopify page where it'll, you can check out if you decide that you want to take home a piece. Take home. So this is the first room. Right? Yeah. So there are delivery options, and the buyers can choose which delivery option they'd like for themselves. And this is our second room. What's also really cool is we sprinkled throughout the gallery room some posters about Appleseed, so you can learn more about the work that we do. This one in particular is about COVID response, so what we've been doing as an organization. And we also have some posters of our sponsors. So this is a second gallery, the Fuji Gallery. This gallery has, this one has 3 rooms. And to view it full screen, there's a button with the little chat bubble where you can view it full screen. And yeah, this is pretty much how the other rooms look. It's pretty cool, I think.
So neat.
You can explore. The only thing it's missing is an avatar. I think that'd be really cool to build your own avatar.
That's next year. Next year's one.
Yeah, next year. Yeah, so this is how it looks. It's pretty cool to go through, slowly each of the paintings. We have really beautiful pieces. And if you finish looking at the exhibit and want to go straight to the art, we also have an art catalog that's linked in the art exhibit tab. And we have collections by artist.
Oh, that's so great.
So you can view it by artist or just the catalog, and you can sort that by price. So if you'd like to see the, what's the cheapest, what's the most expensive, what's in your price range in terms of what you'd like to purchase. Yeah, we have different variety of art as well. So we have 2D paintings. We also have 3D ceramic pieces. Yeah, so that was very quick, and that's it.
It's so awesome because, for a person like me, I get overwhelmed. If I go to a museum and stuff, you can get lost, and you also worry oh, I got to hurry up and move along. I don't want to hold up the line and stuff. This one, you can have it just comfort of your own home. You can take your own sweet time on things. You can really dive into the details, learn more about the artist, more about the pieces and stuff. And then purchasing it is an easy click of the button. And the best part of it all is that, not only do the proceeds go to a great cause in Hawaii Appleseed, but it also part of it goes to the artists themselves, and especially during this time, with the pandemic and all, I know that a lot of artists are having difficulty. So to have this platform, to have their art shown and appreciated and purchased, it's just a really win-win situation for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a process this year, but I know we're all really grateful to our artists and to you for, being able to make this event so nice, nicer than what we could have done.
Well, this has been a thrill for us, and I'm appreciative that I get to be involved in this. And I know we got some really amazing artists on the line that we want to get to. So if you don't mind, Connie, I'm going to kick you out of here, and I'm going to bring on our first artist for our Artist Spotlight.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, folks. First up, so again, we have 6 different artists that we're going to be talking to tonight. We're going to spend about 10 minutes with each and just get to know them a little bit more, learn more about the pieces that they are showing here in our virtual art gallery, and just really get to appreciate their stories. So first of all, we are going to go ahead and introduce our first artist for our spotlight tonight, none other than Mr. Zachary Angelus. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. Yay! Zachary, welcome.
Hello.
Zachary, man, I gotta say, you are probably gonna be the most technologically prepared of all of our artists. You got your whole setup there. You're telling me that you got this set up because you stream live, right?
Yeah. So I do a lot of art live, and I do a lot of we actually went on a virtual art gallery tour of the gallery yesterday, which was super cool. So a lot of my viewers across the world, we all kind of just enjoyed the show together, which was super cool and super nice. So yeah.
So as far as I know that you do, when I was reading your, the type of art that you dabble in, it's a whole wide variety from woodwork to murals to digital and all, screen printing. Where does this come from? Is it because you just want to have so many different outlets for your art? Like for some people, it's like, oh, I gotta concentrate on one thing. But for you, you just really have a wide variety of styles and backgrounds that you jump into. Where does that come from?
Yeah, I grew up as a very antsy kid. I was the let's draw on the walls and build things out of cardboard and play in the dirt kind of kid. And I think when I was in school, I'm actually practiced as a sculptor. But I think in terms of medium, I allow mediums to talk about certain things that I want to discuss. I believe that charcoal for me is a medium that speaks a lot to emotions, and something like woodwork is something a little bit more design heavy, where it's more construction and build. So it's a little different avenues of thinking for the brain, and for me, I can't sit still.
Yeah.
And so it allows me to just do that. So yeah.
How early did you realize that art was a good avenue for you to get out this energy? You mentioned you couldn't sit still. When did you realize that art was the way you wanted to let out this energy of yours?
I mean, it started really young, but I think growing into university, I was like, man, I'm gonna be an architecture kid. I'm gonna make these models and design buildings. I was really good at it. I was really, really good at it, but it just wasn't enough for me. I think I felt more antsy because now I have to sit and design things that are very technical and very which I can do, but I can't do that all the time, nor do I want to do that all the time.
Right.
And so I had to give up that track record of being a super cool architecture kid, and then I transferred over into art 2 years after being involved in the program.
Well, I know that you're also an educator too. How is it? Because for some people, they always say oh, I'm a doer, not a sayer. But you're able to do both, where you can do art, be an artist, yet also have the skills and ability and patience to educate as well. Where's that passion for wanting to educate come from?
So I mean, I've been teaching for a long time. Growing up, I actually used to do a lot of martial arts, and so I grew up being a teacher. I used to teach for the young kids all the time, and so I just got a joy for that. And I think even now, there's this passion inside of me that I feel like I feel better talking to people about art, having people learn and discuss feelings than doing the art itself sometimes.
Mm.
And so, that kind of came through like the jobs that I went through, right? I did like 4 years of and like summer camp running, and I didn't want to be a classroom teacher, but I still wanted to teach. And so that kind of fun side of like being able to workshop and lecture allows me to kind of be present in a classroom without having the full commitment of being a teacher full time.
Yeah. Now, you're talking a little bit earlier about how different mediums tap into different ways of expression and such. And I wanted to bring up one of the pieces that you have featured in our Artists for Appleseeds gallery, and wanted to see what's your opinion on where the inspiration behind this came from and what you were trying to express with this piece here.
For sure. So actually, all my pieces followed the same structure, the same process, and the same deal. But these are my kind of my affirmation scrolls. If you look back at my artistic like history,
Mm-hmm.
2020 really did a number on me. And so much like my background and the art that I presented for the gallery, a lot of it was allowing myself to understand and comprehend affirmations that I wanted to tell myself. Like this one in particular is called it's called what's it called? It focused around the idea of every day bloom something beautiful. And
Mm.
so I wrote that multiple times. Every day bloom something beautiful. Every day bloom something beautiful. Every day bloom something beautiful as a reminder, and a kind of a journey of like fully accepting that mentality.
Mm.
Being able to understand that when you wake up in the morning, you're able to have this hope that there is something in the day that will be great for you. There's something in the day that will make you smile and laugh, and no matter what kind of devastation is happening elsewhere in the world and the world around you, there'll always be something. And that kind of element of hope is something that I wanted to focus on when doing the pieces that I presented for the gallery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Especially right now, we need that kind of mentality and that way of thinking. Um, everything that we seem to be inundated with is about, doom and gloom. It seems like it's a lot of the times to have that kind of outlook. I want to bring up this next piece here, which this one is so unique and beautiful. Can you tell me a little bit about this one?
Yeah, so this one is actually a 6 foot surfboard. This one, the affirmation is, it's okay to go with the flow.
Hmm.
There's a For me personally, I have this struggle with like trying to be controlling. Like I live by a planner. I try to do things one at a time in order. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of parts where like I have to accept that I can't control everything. There's a chaos in everything that we do, and a lot of the times the best way that we can go about doing it is riding the flow.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to have a surfboard to kind of like emulate the rider of the flow. Like this person that is able to have and own this board is able to maneuver through the everyday in a sense that is fluid and adaptable and free. And it
Yeah.
feels it's not so stressful because we tend to go in a routine that makes us stressed a lot of the time.
Right.
But yeah,
Do you also surf yourself?
I actually don't know how to swim.
Oh, wow. That you're like
Yeah,
you and my wife are the only people in Hawaii that don't know how to swim.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, like I have a lot of friends that are surrounded by water, and like they love it. And it was kind of a joy to kind of get that board in my possession because it was on my to-do list. I was like, yo, I really want to paint on this it's on my bucket list to paint a surfboard. And it just kind of came to me one day, and then I was like, okay, we're gonna actually do it now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, it looks awesome, and it's too beautiful to actually use. So I'm sure whoever does get that, I don't expect to see them actually riding it out in the ocean. But
That'll
we
be a
got
that'll be a something.
yeah, we got a couple more pieces that you have in the gallery too, and I wanted to touch on these pretty. Yeah, this one. tell us a little bit about this one. This one, it evokes a lot of emotions, and I'm curious
Yeah.
to hear
So
what the story is with this one.
so like I said, right, every piece that I presented to the show, the process is all the same. And the thing with this one is that this is another phrase that I wanted to live by. Um, it's the idea that slowing down is still progress. um, Tying into the fact that I was talking about being controlling and all that type of stuff, the the idea of also not slowing down. Like
Right.
I'm a type of person that's nonstop. Like I'm over here, like I'm a young dude. I can go ahead and I'm just gonna go for it all the time. I'm gonna go and not stop because I don't have to. But
Yeah.
there's a difference, right, where I have to be able to understand that even when I slow down, and I have to slow down for my health, for my sanity, that's still progress. Just because I slow down, it's not that I'm losing. I'm not backtracking in any way. I'm just slowing down and still moving forward. And so, um this one, the I guess I could talk about like how I go about these. So it's actually consisted of 4 layers, and these are like my 4 layers of understanding this phrase, right?
Hmm.
So this phrase was slowing down is still progress. Slowing down is still progress. Slowing down is still progress. I started off with an ink wash, and that's kind of like my very beginning understanding of what it is I'm trying to understand and comprehend about this phrase,
Right.
and then that develops into something solid where I try to um, tie it to something very earthly to my reality. So like I put shoes tied on a line. So now when I look at these shoes, I can remember that slowing down is still progress. When I remember slowing down is still progress, I can think of the shoes that I put on every day. And so tying that to my reality allows me to lock in that comprehension to that saying and affirmation, and then seal it with the final black bold seal that says, yes, I understand what this means now. I understand what this affirmation is telling me, and I can live by this. I can live by this understanding and progress and move forward, and keep that there, Um,
Man, Zachary, you should also, not that you need to add any more to your plate, but you should also be a motivational speaker, man. You got me feeling like, yes, let's do this. This is awesome.
thank you. Thank you.
Well, Zachary, I
I do
know.
speak. I do speak sometimes. Yeah, I do some public speaking, so
Oh, well, see,
it's
there you go. I can see
natural.
why.
It's
Yeah.
natural.
Man, I'm just so blown away by your multifaceted talents, and that you've chosen to use your gifts in a way that is positive and is helping others. I know that mental health is a big thing that you are involved with as well. And just seeing how you're able to communicate through your art and inspire others, it's been really a privilege to have you be involved with Artists for Appleseed. And I'm just really appreciative that you took the time to share with us a little bit about your story and your work. And I'm excited that you're one of our featured artists. You definitely have just some amazing talents, and I can't wait to keep up with you. I know you got your streaming and your shows and stuff. How can people stay connected with you?
So you can check me out on my website, zachangelus.com. All my links on there. So if you wanted to find me in any other way, all my links are on there. So you can find me on Instagram, zachj.angelus. My Twitch channel is ZJA number 2 DAMAX. It is more geared towards mature audiences, but we always do art, play games, talk a lot of story, and just laugh a little, and have a good time. So yeah.
Dude, that sounds like fun. I'm probably gonna go hang out with you on there. Sounds like fun.
Hey,
Talking story, playing video games. I can't think of a better time. But thanks, Zach, so much. Really appreciate the time. I loved getting to know you, and looking forward to seeing what else is in your bright future.
hey, I appreciate that, Nolan. I'm so excited for all of the artists, and I'm gonna leave with one thing. All of you artists that are listening, a lot of my viewers and audience really enjoyed the work that you put out for this gallery. So mad love to everybody here and everybody that participated. But yeah, thank you, Nolan. I appreciate
Awesome.
you.
Appreciate you. Thanks a lot, Zach. All right, that was awesome. We got so many art, and Zach, just so you know, I can see all the other artists on the line, and they were all like nodding in appreciation. So They definitely feel the love. And this next artist that we want to go ahead and introduce, I'm excited to bring her on here. She is none other than Miss Boz Sure. Boz, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Boz. First of all, I'm really excited to talk about your art, but I know a lot of people who are just meeting you for the first time on here are going to want me to ask this. Where did you get your name from? It's such a unique and wonderful name.
Oh, yes. Well, it's actually my middle name, and it's kind of a funny story, but it's a Charles Dickens pen name when he was originally an illustrator. So
wow.
I don't know if my parents knew that at the time when they were naming me, but that's kind of how it worked out. So it's worked out pretty well for me so far.
And people definitely won't forget you, that's for sure, because whether you're from your amazing art, your amazing personality, or your unique name, I mean, it just all lines up perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
So, Boz, I know that you put out your mural artwork here for Artists for Appleseed, and we already sold one, I believe, right?
We did, yes. On the first day, it was quite exciting.
So for those who are unfamiliar with your work and with the murals, because I guess the reason why it's so awesome that you sold so quickly on the first day is, like, this isn't just a piece of art that you just put up on the wall. Like, a mural is a pretty big deal. Like, someone's gonna definitely have to secure a very specific amount of space for your beautiful artwork. So tell us a little bit about, murals and your style of art here.
Well, the murals is kind of something that I fell into. I think a lot of people are trying to be mural artists at this moment because it's such a wonderful way to not only get your name out there, but also to share your art to such a large audience that might not always be able to see art, go to a museum, or especially now go to a gallery, considering the state of the world. It's hard to get art into your system. So to be able to share it with everybody is really special and really kind of a wonderful thing. And I'm so glad that that's something that I've been able to do in my life thus far.
So when we go through like Kaka'ako, we see, powwow, which I know you've put some of your work up there. I'm always fascinated with, because I'm not an artist myself, I think to scale something that I'm used to seeing, like maybe something that I could do on a canvas or a sheet of paper, then to scale that to like the side of a building. When I do it on the piece of paper, I always try to measure out, like, okay, how much space will I have so that if the word I'm using, I don't run off the edge of the paper. How do you make it so that you can make sure that you don't run off the side of the building? Like, everything looks just perfect and pristine, yet when you're looking at it up close, it is just this tiny speck of your entire mural, right?
Oh yeah, it can be kind of challenging. I like to take photos and then I'll draw over it on my iPad so I can kind of have a sense of where things are going to go. And if there's portraiture, you can always project to start with. So there's little tricks and things that you can do. Thankfully, we don't just have to get up there with our face next to a huge wall and figure it out as we go. That would be very scary.
So I see that you were so kind to share with us some of your work, and we'll pull that up here on the screen. So I know that you do a lot of mural work for, like schools or organizations that I believe have something that's close and near and dear to your heart. Can you share a little bit about that, like why you do want to, use your art for these type of purposes and organizations?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that because recently I've been chatting a lot with my parents who live on the mainland, and we were kind of talking about this. And my mother recently said to me, she's like, you realize that you've been doing everything that you wanted to do when you were in middle school. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, do you remember when you were younger, you said you wanted to be an art teacher, and then in your free time, you wanted to give back to the community. You wanted to do art somehow with people who needed it most. And I said, oh my gosh, I didn't remember that. And it was very specific because I think I was in 7th grade and I learned the word pro bono or something like that. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to give back. And so I'm very lucky that I actually work for Kamehameha Schools, so I'm able to expose students to art through art history and computer art and things that I teach on a daily basis. But then in my free time, I'm able to work on a sliding scale. So if a community-based organization has a certain budget and is very small, like we can work something out so they can still get something on their walls, they can still liven their spaces. And sometimes, I'll do everything I can, like with that first long mural that you showed that was at Noelani School.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just, we weren't even going to do that big lanai, and that was just something that I kind of saw and I was like, oh, I need to add some color to that. This really needs a rainbow. So I feel kind of lucky that I'm able to just do that and give back, and that's really fulfilling to me. So I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity.
I love that. I'm so glad that we got that story. Do you remember why it was so important to you at such a young age to have this desire to give back? And I mean, that's very noble for someone. You said middle school?
Oh.
I mean, my God.
Middle school, I think.
Yeah.
I really don't exactly have a specific memory of where that comes from. I do know that I was very lucky that my parents were incredibly supportive about me wanting to be an artist. I know that's not the traditional story, but I said I want to be a painter, and my parents were like, okay, let's make it work, right? So they were very supportive. I had an incredible art teacher in middle school, and she was very inspiring. And she said something to me where I said, like, when I have an art show, and she says, oh, no. Or I said, if I have an art show, like if that ever happens to me, maybe it won't. And she said, oh, no, when you have an art show, when you will, because it will happen. And just something like that was, I'm sure it was very small, but it was very impactful, and I'm very grateful. So that kind of small change, that small, like Zach said, affirmation in my life, I think I just want to pay it forward. I have something so wonderful. I feel so blessed. So how can I not share that?
And the beauty of this all is now you can be in that position that your teacher was in so many years ago, that could give you that affirmation and that encouragement. And now you're doing that for your students. I mean, it's so beautiful that it just goes in full circle like that.
I really hope so. I actually have a mural club, and they're just dying to get back on campus to be able to do something. So if there are any artists who are listening out there, I'm sure we would love some guest speakers if you're interested.
Oh, well, these guys who are coming up here, they obviously love to talk and are willing to talk. So artists, you better go and contact Boz, because, yeah, I think these students would love to hear from you guys.
We would be so thrilled, so happy.
Boz, before we let you go, anything that you want to share with our audience about your art that you are featuring here in our Artists for Appleseed, and that you would want them to know?
Well, there's a couple of prints that are available that are a little more affordable than an entire wall, but the wall space is really a collaboration between me and the client. So it's nothing that's already predetermined. It's based on imagery that you want, that fits your space, and then can kind of bring color and atmosphere and life to your business. So it's something that's where we work together and we can make a piece of art together.
I love it. And I can't imagine anyone who wouldn't want to work with someone as awesome as you. Just your personality, you're such a bright light. Just to know that you get to work with you would be so awesome. So thank you for sharing your talents and your stories with us, and for being a part of Artists for Appleseed. It's just been an absolute pleasure getting to know you.
Oh, thank you. I'm very grateful to be here. So I appreciate all the artists that I get to work with. It's a very inspiring group of people.
Awesome. Well, you're an inspiration to us. Please give all of your students our well wishes. We expect great things from all of them, and I expect to see many more murals all across our island here, and looking forward to seeing what new ideas are birthed from that amazingly creative mind of yours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hello.
All right. Our thanks to Boz Schur again for hanging out with us here tonight on our Artist Spotlight here for Artists for Appleseed. This, again, if you're watching this, you're probably on our website right now. All of the art that we're talking about with our artists here are available for your perusal and purchase. And again, the proceeds go not only to benefiting artists, benefiting Hawaii Appleseed, but it also goes, a portion of it goes to the artists themselves. So a total win-win for everyone here, all for a great cause, and beautiful artwork and some amazing talented talents here in our islands are supported as well. Speaking of our island's talents, our next artist here on our Artist Spotlight is quite well known. In fact, one of our further later on, we're going to be talking to another one of our artists. She had talked about how she really looked up to this next artist and can't wait to follow him. So without further ado, let's go ahead and meet our next artist. Please give it up for Mr. Solomon Eno. Solomon, welcome, my friend.
Hey, mahalo, mahalo. Oh, thank you so much for this opportunity to hang out with you folks.
Oh, no, thank you for spending time with us. Now, are you in your garage or where are you in right now?
Oh, well, I'm in my house, but my house is actually my studio, and my garage is my studio, and my yard is my studio. In fact, all of Nu'uanu Valley and actually the island and the whole world is my studio. So, but yeah, no, I'm just actually hanging out in my dining room. But I do have some of my art hanging out behind here with me.
Well, they all say like the world is your oyster, but for you, the world is your canvas, right?
Absolutely, yes, perfect.
So Solomon, it's funny because following you, we have one of our artists who are featured in here, and she was saying that she just followed you before she became an artist herself. She was following in your footsteps and studying
Oh,
you
wow.
and stuff. So she's going to be tickled to know that that you are preceding her, and her name is Amber Udias, and I'm sure you'll get to see some of her work after this. But I told her that no pressure, but you're following Solomon.
Wonderful.
So Solomon, I know that you do a lot of your artwork, not a lot, but some of your artwork is influenced by fantasy and sci-fi and such.
Mm-hmm.
So I was curious because, fellow geek here as well, who doesn't love Star Wars and all that kind of stuff. Where did you start to fall in love with and get their fascination with the sci-fi and the fantasy world?
Well, it was an interesting fusion of Hawaiian culture and spending time at the YNI library, and especially in the science fiction section and fantasy section. And what I began to realize is that the power of storytelling, the power of of changing our narrative, the capacity that we have as human beings to change our narrative. Growing up out in Waianae, there were all kinds of issues and challenges related to, how we connect to the land, how we connect to each other. And I witnessed the land and a real renaissance of regrowth on the land as my family helped to open up kalo or lo'i in the back of the Waianae Valley. Mm-hmm. And at that time, we were working with adults and students who were really challenged, right? And so as I witnessed that transformation of the land happen, and as I witnessed these transformations happening within these individuals, I realized that this is there's some really wonderful stories that need to be told. And sometimes fantasy and science fiction gives us a way to tell it indirectly. And I think that's a very Hawaiian thing, right? Sometimes you don't talk about somebody directly, you talk about a bird that kind of reminds you of that person, right? So it's an indirect way of solving a problem, or indirect way of talking about issues, especially if they're issues that are otherwise are too difficult to talk about, right? So it's kind of like, I think of science fiction and fantasy sort of like a splint. So if you have a broken bone, you want to run something parallel to the bone to realign it. And I think science fiction and fantasy has a capacity to help us to realign our humanity, right? Good sci-fi, good sci. Good. There's a difference between escapist sci-fi and science fiction that takes you away so that you can look back at who you are with a new perspective. Escapist sci-fi, you just go, right? And that's okay too. But I could go on and on forever, but I really do believe in the power of storytelling, and my ancestors have been using have been expressing this through our ka'au storytelling traditions. All of our mythology and everything. It's full of so much magic and sorcery and monsters, and I mean, these mountains here have all these stories embedded in them, and I think that's another part of what I'm trying to do is also translate mythology, Hawaiian mythology, into science fiction and fantasy. So, plenty.
Yeah, and what has been the kind of, like, as you're going through this journey of trying to tell these stories in that fashion, has there been something that you've experienced or learned that you weren't expecting through this process?
Sure. So one of the projects that I did, like I said, I used to spend a lot of time at YNI Library, and I would just look at the book covers, right? And I would say, if I look at this book cover long enough, the entire story should be able to like unfold, right? So like a really good book cover is kind of like a portal into that, into this story. And so I said, well, what if I made 400 book covers, and each book cover is 100-year kind of a centennial image, and then 100 years later, and then 100 years later, and then 100 years later, and then 100 years later. So I created a 40,000-year timeline. Wow. And that 40,000-year timeline featured at the Biennial 2019 in Honolulu Biennial 2019. And it took up almost a whole wall of these images. And what it taught me was that, boy, when you think about what it means to be human, you have to think about it, not just your lifetime, but really, how much do you love your great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren and their grandchildren and their grandchildren and their great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great and on and on and on? Like, how far does your love go through space and time, right? And I think the further it goes out into space and time, I think that's what immortality is all about, right? I mean, we may not physically unlock the mysteries of Neptune, but our love is going to get us there. Our love is going to get our great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren there. Our love is going to help to unlock these mysteries. And that we're really only at the beginning of this amazing story. And I think that it's that same kind of wanderlust, actually, one thing that really underpins a lot of my work. It's the same wanderlust that drove my ancestors to be drawn to these islands in the first place. I got the same sense that there's something really, to quote a little bit of Kubrick, something wonderful. We're on the cusp of something really, really amazing. And we're on the cusp of something kind of horrible, right? So which cusp do we want?
Yeah.
I'm for the amazing. I'm for the wonderful.
Yeah. You yourself prescribe, was it possibilist? Is that the correct term? Like, so you
sorry, one more time.
You describe yourself as a possibilist. Is that the correct term?
A possibilist.
Yeah. Explain what that means. And I want to show some of the artwork that you are putting on our gallery as well. But what does it mean for you to be a possibilist?
Oh, so I acquired that title. Oh, well, I acquired that concept when I was I'm a big fan of like NPR and BBC Radio, so I'm always listening to the information. And I came across this. He was an educator who had passed away a few years ago. His name was Hans Rosling, and I believe he was a Swedish kind of a philosopher, educator, and he talked about data visualization. And he talked about this idea that there's ways for us to understand who we are by making data visual, by making data digestible, making information, and I think that's kind of what I'm doing with science fiction, is trying to take these difficult challenging kind of narratives and make it edible for as broad an audience as possible. Right. And but when he talked about this idea of possibilism, he says, I'm not an optimist. I don't like that word. No, it's not useful. I'm a possibilist. And I was like, ooh, I like that. I like possibilism, right? Because optimism involves a degree of inactive hope. It's kind of like, sure, hope these things are going to work out. And I think there's some action involved in optimism too. But possibilism is like, I have hope, and this is why. Let me list all the reasons why I have hope. And it's like hope with torque. It's like hope with leverage.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm exploring the idea of what is.
And I think that having that mindset is so necessary right now, especially during these times, right? Because people can see what's going on with the current way that life has been affected with this pandemic. But you can also see that there's a lot of possibilities that have come from this and a lot of opportunities, right?
Absolutely.
So I know we wanted to show this last piece before we let you go, which was really powerful. I wanted to get your take on what this represented, where this came from, and what this piece means to you.
Oh, sure. So I've been doing these series of, this was part of a series called Mahilani Studies. And it's just an affirmation that the natural world is so full of profound mystery and wonder. A moon rise, a moon peeking through a wave of cloud forms. I mean, it just makes me think about how every single time you see a scene like this, it's like every single time you see a sunrise or a sunset, there's something that almost reboots your humanity. There's something that almost sort of reconnects you to every other human that was also in awe of that same kind of a natural phenomenon. And I think there's something so elemental about celebrating the natural world, and to be able to then translate it into art, or translate it into a medium that again makes it digestible, is to me not only is it fun, not only do I get a lot of joy out of doing it, it helps me to it helps to then translate that to a wider audience. Plus, I just absolutely love this idea of like visually like hiking up into these clouds, you know what I mean? And like just like cuddling up against that moon right in there, So there's something, I basically am pouring myself into the art, and I leave my human form and I fall into this two-dimensional space. And ultimately, as an artist, I want people to create their own art. I want people to get that same sort of experience. And if my art can inspire others to pick up a brush and to paint and to translate, then I think the greatest art that I can make are more artists.
Well, I know that a lot of the artists who are listening on here are they just love listening to you talk. But I do want to give them a chance to talk as well. But I've just enjoyed this talk with you. I also love the art that a lot of your pieces have already sold, but there's still a few left. Anything that you'd like to share with our viewers and people that you want them to take away from whether they're purchasing your art or thinking of purchasing your art?
Oh, well, really quickly, just I am constantly creating art every day, new, fresh concepts. I have one social media channel, and that's Instagram. I'm not using any other social media, so I'm at Solomon Enos. So at Solomon Enos, and I'm exploring all of these concepts, and I come up with something fresh every day. And I think that's sort of like the that's the open grill. That's the garden. That's the fresh garden. You guys come by and feel free to pick some inspiration whenever you guys are around.
That's awesome. Well, Solomon, I'm going to let you let your family get your dining room back, and please give love to your wife. My wife says hello to her and the rest of your family. But thank you for spending this time with us. Really inspirational. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. What do you guys? Yay!
All right, thank you so much to Solomon for joining us again on this Artist for Appleseed Spotlight. Again, if you are joining us on our website, all of the art is available. You can go through our virtual gallery and see the art that we talked about here tonight in our spotlights, along with the other 60 artists that are featured in there as well. Tons of great stuff in there. And again, All the proceeds benefit both the artist and Hawaii Appleseed. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and turn our attention to our next artist, who is, I believe, all the way in Waikiki right now joining us. Let's welcome Amber Udias. Amber, welcome.
Hey, hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So Amber, I know we talked about this earlier, that you were stoked that you were getting to follow Solomon Enos. You said
Yes.
that he's such a huge inspiration to you.
Yeah.
And that this is your first interview experience. So
Yeah.
here you are. How do you feel? How did you feel about after hearing what Solomon had to say, and now you get to be on the spotlight?
I'm just so incredibly grateful, and so humble, and just like I can't believe it's happening. I'm just really grateful to be here. And Solomon, I did papers with him, and like I've gone and seen him talk, and he's just so inspirational, and the way that his color is used is an inspiration, because that's what I like to do in my pieces too, is use like really vivid color and just immerse myself in that. So
Yeah, well, speaking of your work, you do a lot of paints, and the thing that I thought was really interesting about your work is that you're located, I guess, in Waikiki, which I feel like
yeah,
there's probably a lot of inspiration, but at the same time, when we
yeah.
think Waikiki, it's like a lot of like loud noises, chaos, a lot of people and stuff, but yet it seems like that's kind of where you find a lot of focus and beauty in your work. Is that not correct?
Yes, absolutely. I'm really inspired by my surroundings, especially when the pandemic hit. We're in Waikiki. We really felt it because it turned into a ghost town. The streets were empty. The trolleys and the buses that you're used to hearing empty. The hotel elevators stopped going up and down, and it's just you like start to feel really alone. So that's where a lot of the inspiration came from, is like the experience of being alone, and then the experience of you'll see it in one of my pieces, um, hearing everybody at like 7 o'clock on the Alawai, and you hear air horns and chi-hoos, and we're not alone, even though it seems like a ghost town. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so
definitely Waikiki.
that's such a unique perspective for those of us who have been here in the islands, affected by the pandemic. It definitely, I think, resonated with a lot of people with just how serious this was when we saw Waikiki, which was just known for just bustling with life, and then seeing those images of the streets empty and such. Um, I wanted to bring up one of the pieces that you have in our art gallery. What is, tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind this, and what were you feeling when you put this piece together?
So initially, I was a server, and I was surrounded by hundreds of people a day, and when the pandemic hit and I lost my job, I started having a lot of alone time, and it started feeling really lonely, and once they opened the ocean back up, all we were allowed to do was swim. And so I took that opportunity. I love to swim, I love to snorkel, and I took that opportunity to try to go every single day. And so I found this spot at Kaimana's. This is called Kaimana's at Sunset. I found this spot where the turtles dwell, where they slept. They tucked themselves under the reef, and I would float out there for hours just observing, and just like kind of just being in a different type of quiet, where you don't hear people talking pandemic, pandemic, pandemic,
Yeah.
And as I observed and I started going day after day, like I think for a month straight, I went every single day to Kaimana's. And I started observing the different beauties of this place. So each level of the painting, from the bottom to the top, is a different experience, is a different tangible observation, from the light lines to the actual reef, where like I took pictures on my GoPro, the reef where the turtles sleep, the turtles themselves, like the motion of the currents, even though it's like all one blue, it's still very much almost violent sometimes. And then there's the turtles and the way that the light shoots through the surface of the water, especially at sunset, is almost this golden. So I used gold paint. And then the surface of the water is like this really almost, I realize it now that it's almost like a gunmetal. It's like a silver, but here I was just trying to figure out what that color was. And then, of course, there's the floating and like just letting life kind of just, it's so heavy sometimes. So to be able to float was just like a very freeing feeling. And then sometimes the paintbrushes or like the clouds will look like paintbrushes. So I took my brush and I just made a cloud. So it's all very tangible experiences, and I wanted to capture that feeling and remember it. So there's a lot of emotion in it for me.
So I know we have a few more pieces that we're going through, and we'll kind of show them as we talk, but I wanted to ask you, you know, going from, you know, having this environment of lots of stimulation and the hustle and bustle of Waikiki, and then the pandemic kind of bringing a lot of calm and nothingness almost. How did that allow you to grow or expand as an artist now, you know, having this shift in environment?
Yeah. Well, it gave me the time. I would have never had this time. I started creating I initially was doing portraits to get that connection that I was missing, right? I was doing portraits of friends or just of beautiful people that I wanted to capture that essence of connection. And but if the pandemic didn't hit, I would never have this time. I would still be serving. I would be working full time. You know, I've created a lot of work. A lot of it's not shown, but you know, just a lot of time to create my website and like really give this my all and focus on what I've been wanting to do for so long. You know, I went to school for art, and everyone's like, well, what are you going to do with that? You know, and I really wanted to be an artist, and this is what it is now. So I'm so grateful in strange ways, you know, gonna make it work.
I'm so glad that you didn't listen to those people and that you just followed your passion and your heart, because you're far too talented to not have these out there in the world. I wanted to continue to see some more of your art here in the gallery. What is it that you would like to share with our viewers as far as you know, what are the things that you want your art and pieces like these to evoke or inspire in them? Is there anything in particular that you would hope to, as far as connecting with these people that do take your art home?
Yeah, so, you know, I do often think that art is a weapon and it can be used as a weapon. But for me, I use it as a tool for peace. And it's brought me peace to create these things. And I hope that it comes across as peaceful, whether it's in the color or whether it's in the essence of the entire piece. I really just want to bring a sense of peace and hope in a time that's very chaotic and stressful. And that's how I have been able to find that peace myself, is by getting out of my head and putting it all on the canvas.
Well, I absolutely love your work, and I love the colors, and it's interesting because while the colors are so vibrant and evoke a lot of energy and positivity, the images that you put out does evoke that peace and calm and comfort. And it's just such a neat combination of how you're able to do that with your work. I know that there's a lot of fans out here watching this right now that also agree and just love your work. What would you want as far as to share with the rest of the people watching here? How can they stay connected with you? Anything that you would want them to know before we let you get back to the peace and calm of Waikiki?
Right? So you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Amber_Udias. And then my website is just amberudias.com. And then you can find my full portfolio on there. I also have like hoodies and stuff that I put my paintings on. So more accessible ways like phone cases and stuff like that, you know. So some of the paintings here are actually on phone cases or towels or stuff that you can like have, you know. I like that accessibility too. So yeah, you can follow me on Instagram or find me on my website, which does have other social media handles on there as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad I got to meet you. I loved spending this time with you, and I'm really excited to see more work coming out of your studio there. But in the meantime, thank you so much for providing your talents and your art for Artists for Appleseed. And thanks for being a part of our wonderful gallery here.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here.
All right.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, Amber, for joining us again on tonight's Artists for Appleseed Spotlight here. And we have another artist in the wing that I'm excited to bring on here as well. He is just been putting out some amazing stuff, especially for our fundraiser here, really focusing on what COVID has done, not only for our world, but our community as well. He's got this amazing collection called 100 Days of COVID. I want to talk a little bit about that. Please help me welcome Mr. Taiji Terasaki. Taiji, welcome. Looks like Taiji is frozen here, so we'll go ahead.
Yes, hi.
Oh, okay, we can hear you. So, Taiji's, your camera is frozen.
Oh, no.
So maybe what it is the
there?
connection is a little wonky.
Oh, it's still frozen.
Yeah, maybe what we could do is log off and then log right back on, and that should reset us.
Shoot.
But in the meantime, we can bring up some of Taiji's artwork that we can take a look at while he goes and logs off and logs back on, and we can reset his camera there. But Taiji has been doing some there Taiji is back, and his camera's working again. So let's go ahead and bring Taiji. Taiji, you're on. You're good.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it all good?
We just needed to.
Okay, I don't know what happened. It froze up, and I was gonna.
No, your computer just knows. It just wanted to give you a little mini heart attack there.
Yeah, totally. But I'm glad it's up and running. Thank you.
Yeah. So
sorry, I even ran out of the room to call somebody.
Oh no, we heard. Who is that that you were calling?
Calm down. It's all embarrassing, right? But anyway, okay, I'm here now.
Yeah. So you have a really fascinating collection here featured in the Artists for Appleseed. It's 100 Days of COVID. Can you share with us a little bit about what this inspiration was and what you were trying to accomplish here with this collection?
Yeah, so the whole world, right? The pandemic broke out, and it was just like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And so I decided, because it was self-isolation, and I heard from other artists that actually it was a great time to do work. I decided, okay, I'm gonna set up this kind of very strict discipline, and so every day I would produce a piece of art that is my reaction to the COVID pandemic, and post it on Instagram every day for 100 days. So I had no idea, what would come out of it, or it was kind of, it was really difficult actually to do every day, but every day was a new surprise that what I would do.
And the style of your art is so intricate and so unique. It's weavings. How did you come up with this style and explain to people who are not familiar with weavings how this all comes and is put together?
Yeah, so I would say that a few projects ago, I started weaving. The concept came from weaving stories together,
Mm.
and so there are other artists that do it, but at that time, I thought, wow, what if I took pictures, photographs, and actually wove their stories together. So that's how it all started. Um, I have to mention that also I have a studio, so some other younger artists are helping me out, and especially my wife is interested in weaving, and so she's been a true partner in all this too. So we had a lot of fun through this whole project too. And I could the different weavings are have a little stylistic change sometimes, and it's because my wife thinks very differently than I do, and so it comes out in the artwork.
That's amazing. And I saw on your Instagram you even started having your daughter help you out as well on some of your projects, right?
Yes. Yes, yes. So as you know, family was all together, locked in together, and so it was a great community time for yeah, I mean, I hate to say they're listening to all this, but the pandemic, it I've learned that pandemics are never they are never fair to,
Mm.
across the society, and this COVID-19 is also that case, and it actually pointed to many things, of course, that we all are aware of right now. And those initial 100 days that I focused on, those many issues came up during that time that I believe we're going to be dealing with, for years to come. And they're things that we need to look at very closely.
So I want to take a look at some of the pieces that you're talking about. We'll start off with this one where this was an interesting story piece that you did a weaving on. He's an employee at Whole Foods. Tell us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so I would say the project initially I thought, okay, in a lot of my practice, I try to forefront other people and give praise to these people in society that are doing great for all of us. And so I this was the case where I focused on a unsung hero, and he's actually a friend of a friend of mine, and he works at Whole Foods. And he had a family. He has a 3-year-old son, and it was very scary to me that he that he's very nervous to go into work because he's afraid of getting COVID and passing it on to his family. But we depended on so many of these people to continue to service us. And I feel very fortunate that I actually feel guilty sometimes, home alone, and but I'm not out there exposing myself to and risking my life out there, and there are people like him who do it daily.
Yeah, and as we cycle through some of the other pieces, um, a lot of what you had touched upon a lot was not only about the stories of individuals, but also of the political scene too, and human interest and Black Lives Matter was a huge chapter, an ongoing chapter in what's the pandemic has, brought us. Why do you feel so inspired to communicate through your artwork, the things that are going on, not only just in these human stories, but political and societal and all those. It's a really fascinating way of how you've been able to weave no pun intended, all of these different elements into your artwork?
Um, Gosh, thank you. Let's see, how do I answer that one? As I said, every day was just a new day, and then my went the world was through mostly the digital world, and what stories I saw and what I felt compelled to react to, and it couldn't be helped, right? These intersections of these monumental events that happened during the pandemic, and Black Lives Matters, of course, is one of them. And I, it's just will always be a memory for the pandemic and how Black Lives Matters and racial inequalities have intersected this whole experience of ours. And so I try to be open to almost any. I really try to be open. And
Mm-hmm.
so if it's about the environment, or if it's about you know um, uh, a neighborhood, or all kinds of stories, or I just really try to be open to anything.
Yeah, and we're talking about the environment. Here's another great piece of your collection. Uh, talking about how the pandemic has kind of brought new life back to, you know, our environment. I love that you said nature liberated to breathe, and I think, um, you know, it's hard to see the appreciation of just how intricate all of these weavings are. I mean, we see kind of from a pulled back view of like, oh yes, this image, but if you look real close and see all of the tiny images that you've woven into here, how do you decide with like what to put into this? Because it's very intricate of all these tiny images in here.
Um, Yes, so I do have to say that, being an artist, and as most artists, I'm very interested in technique and how to explore technique. So the weaving, that I try to explore different ways to
Mm-hmm.
weave imagery together, and I try to also understand, what the weaving itself was trying to intrinsically tell, how it's trying to intrinsically tell the story. And so I would definitely say that, because most of this information was digitally received to me, I try to interpret a lot with sort of, let's say, a digital kind of aesthetic. And so I don't know if that always came across, but I definitely tried to explore all kinds of whatever I could do differently. And this example that you have up on the screen now is where I try to explore an open basket weave.
Mm. Real quick, what do you mean by open basket weave? How is that unique?
Okay, so yeah, maybe you can't tell because it's against a white background, but those black strips,
Yeah.
let's see, they're woven, so they're and it's woven in an open weave, so there's space between each of those black strips.
Oh, I see.
So I looked at basketry actually to give me that inspiration for that one.
Oh, absolutely fascinating. This
But
is great.
if you don't mind, I would love to tell a story of that weaving, because um, I don't know, Mark Noguchi is maybe a friend of everybody's,
Yeah.
but his wife is just amazing. And it was Mother's Day. So, as I said, it was day by day by day. And here came Mother's Day. I think it's May 10th, right? So I contacted Mark and I said, can you tell me something about your wife? And I have a quote that just so lovely. He said, I see my mother in Amanda. She is so many of the oh sorry. She's so many of the bright, beautiful things that I have in my mom. And
Oh.
the way that she inspires other women in the community. Amanda, thank you for choosing me. And that was so touching. You know Mark, right? So, and then they have two lovely children, and she they so much to feeding the community. I mean, I could get into the programs that they've been involved with, but just amazing how they're continuing even to this day to feed, put food out into the community that is needed.
Well, you're also very involved with community efforts. I mean, the fact that you're, you know, bringing your art to this cause here for artists for Appleseed. So, you know, as we bring up one of my favorite pieces of yours, what does it mean to you to be involved with community efforts and using your art to bring awareness to things and to help, you know, make the world a better place? It seems like that's been a huge point of focus for you.
Yeah, so if we think of the pandemic and all the tragedy and all the, all the terrible things that have happened and everything, there is still hope, and we know that we will pull through this, and it's only because of all the heroic actions of others and the volunteer spirit and so much good. And I really believe that this pandemic has shown that the we can come together globally. So I think that what's going to happen after this pandemic is we're going to have to be aware more of climate change, and I think this pandemic kind of is a clue. It's a very small clue to what we can be in store for, but I believe that we can come together, and the sunflower symbolizes hope because scientists have decided that the sunflower is one plant that can grow in many kind of climates and endure many kind of things. So that's why the sunflower, I'm representing the sunflower here, and I'm hoping that when we come out of this, there will be a new normal that it is very positive, and there will, all the suffering that we've been through and all the isolation we've done, it's going to be, in the lessons that we learn, it's going to be, I can never say it's worth it. That's not the right thing to say, but we will learn from it.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely beautiful, and I'm right there with you. I want the same things as well. I want to thank you so much for taking this time to be with us tonight, and also for giving of your talents and your gifts to such a cause as Artists for Appleseed. And
oh gosh,
before we let you
my
go,
pleasure.
Anything that you want to share with your fans and our viewers here tonight, and how they can stay connected with you, or anything that you'd want them to know for your pieces here in the gallery?
Gosh, I mean, I have an Instagram, Taiji Terasaki Studio, but I just have so much respect for nonprofits and what they do, and how they really care about community. And Appleseed is, of course, is one of those. And it's not, I'm not asking for my art, but I hope that you support Appleseed, and it's very important. But thank you very much for the time. I'm sorry, I'm so embarrassed, but I think so. I was screaming and
we're all the same with you when it comes to technology. Like, we just want to throw things out the window sometimes. But this has absolutely been such a blast, and I love talking with you, Taiji, and we greatly appreciate you being a part of this. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Nolan. It was great to come to meet you and everything. I hope our paths meet again. But thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you so much to Taiji. And last but not least, we have our final artist here for our Artists for Appleseed Spotlight. And she is not a stranger to Hawaii Appleseed. In fact, she's been a part of Hoy Appleseed for many years, and so I'm really excited to show our final artist here in our spotlight. Please help me welcome Miss Deborah Nima. Deborah, thank you for joining us. Oh no, we lost your audio. Okay, so Deborah, let's go ahead and see if you wouldn't mind logging off and logging back on, and hopefully that should get you back on. I think we don't have your mic connected. So let's see if you log off and log back on, it should be back on. So let's go ahead and try that. In the meantime, let's go ahead and pull up Deborah's artwork because she's got some beautiful stuff here in the gallery. Deborah just is so talented, and she is actually one of the founding fathers or founding members of Hoy Appleseed. Deborah, I think we're still trying to get her connected here to the audio here. So Deborah, I think if you could just log off and then re-log on. I think it has to do with maybe you plugged in your audio after logging on. So we'll go ahead and reset that here. And of course, this is our last spotlight. So we couldn't go, you know, the whole show without one technical glitch. So thanks to Deborah for getting us that one experience there. And thank you so much to those of you who are joining us here tonight and for supporting Artists for Appleseed. This has been such a huge undertaking as far as turning what was an annual event that was an in-person event and turning it virtual. So for us to do this and get your support has been absolutely wonderful. And I see now that we have Deborah back on. And so Deborah, let's go ahead and welcome you again, part two. Deborah,
nice to be here, and I'll repeat what I said before. I have a tough act to follow. Taiji's just amazing.
No, you are amazing yourself. I'm so thrilled to have you on here and to talk with you. We did get a chance to talk a little bit yesterday in our rehearsal as far as making sure that your technology worked. And of course, you know, technology didn't want us to cooperate here. But you have a long history here with Hoy Appleseed. Tell us a little bit about your history with the organization.
Well, I am a recovering attorney. And when the founding father, one of the founding fathers of Artists for Appleseed came to me after I had stopped practicing and said they were going to start this kind of fundraising, and could I help Jackie Reber, David Reber's wife, to put this all together. And I don't know how many years ago that was, but every year I have contributed both my art and my efforts where I can. So I strongly believe in the organization, and I love that they're giving artists exposure, and I hope people buy a lot of art because it supports artists who desperately need money now, as well as Appleseed.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you really believed in the organization and the mission. Is there something personal to you that makes you feel so connected to Hoy Appleseed or Artists for Appleseed?
I just have always respected what you guys have done. When I did work, I would want to do pro bono work when I could, and I just really respect attorneys that spend who could in a for-profit firm make a whole lot more money, but they've devoted their lives and their energies to helping people that desperately need their services. And it used to be legal aid, and Richard Nixon started to take that apart, and so Appleseed has at least supplemented what's done, and it's just incredibly important.
So going from law to art, two very different worlds. How did that transition
different sides of the
brain? Yeah.
But that didn't. What I always wanted to do with my art was combine my interest in issues of social justice, and express that in my art, in my what we artists call my own voice. And it took years to do that, and in the process of doing these very obsessive, time-intensive works for the past 10 years, they've been about gun violence in America for the most part. I don't throw anything out, and I have lots of scraps and lots of pieces. And so when I need a break, a mental break from working on these intense pieces, which are on my website at www.deborahnemad.com, I will then create these collages, which have no heavy-duty meaning, but they are soothing for my soul, and I hope nice to look at, and they seem to be somewhat commercially appealable. And but if you look closely at all of them in the collage, the work that I collage, there's pretty insane, repetitive, obsessive stuff in each and every piece that is collaged.
Well, let's take a look at one of the pieces here that's featured in our virtual art gallery. Tell us a little bit about this piece here.
Well, unfortunately, you can't see it. The devil is in the details, and if you were able to see it close up, the piece on the right is actually, the gray area are actually consecutive numbers that I've handwritten.
Oh, wow.
And the left area, the red area, is a woodblock print on red Japanese paper that I've branded this grid across. And then it is layered upon another surface that has obsessive burned marks on it, and then sort of united together with the circle in the middle. And so a lot of my works do have this branding in it. It's called pyrography. So the circle is actually branded with a titanium screw.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the art that you do has so many different elements to it. And I think you're in your studio now. You must have just like a plethora of all kinds of tools and instruments and materials, right?
Yes. I do. What I have a lot of is paper, because I love paper. And anytime I've traveled to other countries and cities, I've always tried to find a paper store. And trouble is, with a lot of these papers, I find they're so beautiful I can't do anything to them because they're works of art in and of themselves.
Well, what about this next piece here? It looks like this might be more branding or wood burning. Is that right?
Yes, this is a combination. Again, it's a collage. Each different color is a different piece of paper, and it's brought together with this. The black marks are from an etched plate. I'm a printmaker by degree, and what I did was take bits and pieces of other works that I was doing tests on, and you can see on the right side there's burned holes again. So that's a piece of Japanese paper, which is made not from rice, which is a misnomer and politically incorrect in my view, but a fiber called kozo or mulberry.
Oh.
And so the papers are all often diaphanous, and you can see through them, and you can paste them together. And so this piece of kind of a natural color Japanese paper that I burned through was then in the process of printing the plate. I pasted the papers down first, and I ran it through together, so the pressure of the press pasted the pieces together. And so this is while it looks large on the screen, it's actually, the image is that 6.5 by 6 inches framed. It's 13 by 13, and this is part of a larger series. And what I included in Appleseed in the sale were pieces that I hope would sort of go together nicely.
So would this piece would also be part of that collection?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is beautiful. A lot of it has to do with burnings and stuff. When I was a child, I used to play a lot with fire, and I get in trouble. Were you the same type, or were you much more
No,
refined
actually,
and sophisticated?
I had to stop the practice of law because I injured my back, and then I went to graduate school in art because for a lot of reasons. But I've always been interested in art. And in graduate school, you can't make art that just looks good. It has to mean something. So I had to search within myself, and I realized the main thing going on was the fact that I was in chronic pain. And so you describe your pain. So it was burning pain. So there was the metaphor. That's the short version of the story.
Yeah. And how are you doing now, may I ask?
Oh, I've just learned to live with it. That's another story. But my work has moved from my own talking about my own personal pain to pain on a broader scale.
Yeah.
And I've done pieces about, as I said, gun violence, the war in Iraq. I've started a piece on the pandemic. That'll take me forever. and
sounds like you'll have a lot of time to do that, apparently.
Well, that's the whole point.
Well, I get the feeling that you have such a close affinity to, helping, communicate what's going on in the world, and wanting to do better for the world. And maybe that's why you might have started off with law, but now using your art to communicate that. What has been the most rewarding thing for you for that?
Well, the most rewarding thing is when my works have been exhibited and people look at them, and what I like to do is make work that is seductive, that it draws people in, and it's not obvious what it's about at the beginning, and it's hopefully beautiful in my view. And then people get sucked in, and then they go read what it's about, and they go, oh. And it makes them think. And I like to believe that it, gives them pause, and they think about these issues that I think about all the time. And as I said, an issue that I've really focused on the past decade has been gun violence in America. I think it's just horrible on so many levels.
That's so powerful, and I love that you've been able to take something like your talents and skills in art and be able to use it not only to communicate, but to open that pathway to education for those who come across your work.
And what's interesting in the art world in general now is how the art world is changing, and protest art or social art is becoming, it's much more directed at trying to move people, trying to motivate people, trying to make them open their eyes and see what's going on. Because artists, in my view, at least they can either make you think or they can make you feel good. One of the two.
Yeah.
And both are completely legitimate.
Well, as we bring up the last piece that we have here for our viewers to see, and again, man, just your works are just so thought-provoking and so intricate. I love them. They're beautiful. As far as for our Artists for Appleseed audience, who is going to see a lot of your collection in our virtual gallery, what would you want them to know? What would you want them to feel from seeing your work, and what would you hope for them to know?
Well, I would like them to know that I am planning to donate 100% of the proceeds of if any of these this smaller series sells, and so I would hope that would be an incentive for people to buy a piece, because at least for one of them, when they will all go to Appleseed. I would like to thank Appleseed for giving artists this opportunity. It's very, very important. And I know it makes artists feel good to be able to, help support such an important cause. And I hope Appleseed feels good about giving artists this opportunity.
Well, we definitely appreciate you donating your time and your talents and for that generous commitment to donating the proceeds for your pieces to our cause and
Peace.
for
Well,
peace, sorry,
50% for
Yeah.
3 of them and
Yeah.
100%.
But just the fact that you've been such a long-standing supporter of Hawaii Appleseed is just, we can't thank you enough for your commitment to this. And it's just been a pleasure personally for me to get to know you, and I
Same
love
here.
how you're using your platform to educate, and I'm just thrilled that we have human beings like yourself living in our society, that it makes me feel good. Like
Thank you.
the world,
Thank
we have a chance to really make a difference with people like yourself.
Thanks, Nolan. Good
All
night,
right.
everyone, and thank
Good
you.
night.
And buy art.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Deborah. And thank you for all of your time and for joining us here tonight on our Artists for Appleseed Spotlight. Thank you to all 6 of our artists, and thank you to all 60 of our artists for participating and bringing their art to our virtual art gallery. Again, all of the art that you saw tonight, along with many, many more pieces, all available for you to see, learn, and purchase through our website here. You can go through the virtual art gallery, or you can just, if you want to just go straight to seeing all of the art, we have it all listed in the gallery view as well. So on behalf of all of us here at Hawaii Appleseed, thank you so much to our artists. Thank you so much to our donors and sponsors. And this doesn't end tonight. We still got tomorrow as well. The gallery is open 24/7. And tomorrow, please join us. We have an awesome Pauhana event where we're going to have some great prizes and a really fun, unique, interactive way that you can win them. We're going to have some of our many talented artists come on and join us for a digital Pictionary game. So that's how you're going to win some really great prizes. We got some great gift certificates and things for you to win. And the way to win it is by correctly guessing some of these sketches that these artists are going to do digitally on the screen for us. It's going to be really fun. I can't wait for it, and I hope you join us there tomorrow night. For the rest of us here, have a wonderful evening. As the artist said, buy art and have a good night. Thank you. Take care. Bye.